Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. So we've got a very warm day once again today, but we are going to be seeing a cold front sweeping through on Thursday, and it is going to bring generally lower temperatures as we head into the weekend. Still probably going to be above average in the south, but there's no chance of us reaching much above the mid-20s compared to what we've had at the moment, which is high 20s. So turning a bit cooler, and it's going to introduce more cloud and showers, especially further northwards and westwards. As we're into the longer range, into early July, it is looking likely to be fairly unsettled, unfortunately, with precipitation returning pretty widely and temperatures dropping back towards average or below average as those winds are going to veer in from the west or the northwest. Complete opposite to what we have at the moment, and quite contrary to what we've had the last few years, where a lot of July has been associated with heatwave conditions, really. Lots of hot, dry weather. That's what we've seen in the last couple of years, with 40 degree back in 2022 and plenty of 30 degrees last year. It looks like at least July, the first part of July, is looking to be the complete opposite. I doubt temperatures will get much above 25 degrees from the looks of the latest runs, and there will be plenty of showers, and of course, being the summer, plenty of thunderstorms with warmer air masses getting wafted up and mixing in with the low pressure at times. We'll have a look at that in detail in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see it is pretty warm and dry for England, Wales, heading up from much of Scotland, but look to the west, we've got this area of precipitation, not too heavy and not too widespread, but it's this weak cold front that is moving eastwards, and will be giving slightly fresher conditions for all as we head through Thursday and generally into the weekend. Now, do you put on the temperatures? I'm recording this around 4 p.m, and you can see we are at the peak temperatures of the day. Pretty stunning indeed across much of northern and western Europe in general. You can see where the thunderstorms are taking place across Europe, as we've got these smaller areas of yellow, which is where temperatures are cooling down substantially. But for much of northern and western Europe, and for much of the British Isles, it is very warm, if not hot, at the moment, with temperatures hottest across central inland parts of England and Wales. You can see further northwards and westwards, it is slightly cooler. It's inevitable, being further away from the source of heat, which is near the continent and down towards the Mediterranean. That's where this air is coming from. But you can see that it is also due to the fact that that cold front is sweeping in. You can see towards Dublin, still mid-20s, out towards the west of Ireland, now back into the teens as that cooler air is starting to push in. Now, if you look over at net weather at the max temperatures for today, recording this, as I said, just after 4 p.m, so some of the 4 p.m. observations have come in. But you can see again, it's the similar conditions to yesterday, 27 to 29 degrees. Yesterday, we saw 29.4. Today, we're seeing 29.3 so far. It could nudge slightly higher, but I doubt that we will get to 30 degrees. Maybe around at 30, so that's 29.5 and above, but I doubt we'll get to the actual 30 degree mark. So yeah, it does look like we've fallen a bit short, and maybe the UKV's overdone it by a degree or so, as the last day or two, so Tuesday and Wednesday, the UKV had shown 30 degrees in a few locations, and it looks like we're falling about half a degree to a degree short of that. So overdoing it ever so slightly, but for most, it doesn't make much of a difference. Still very hot in many areas. And remember, for London, heatwave thresholds are 28 degrees. So we have broken heatwave thresholds, but we haven't seen 3 consecutive days, as Monday wasn't above 28 degrees. So officially, I don't think this will go down as a heatwave, even though we have technically broken those thresholds, just not for 3 consecutive days, which is the official Met Office statement. I said temperatures will still be warm tomorrow, but just not quite as warm, maybe max 26 or 27 in the far southeast, where we haven't quite got that cold front sweeping through yet. Now, if you look at the latest UKV, you can see through the rest of this afternoon into the evening, that cold front will continue to spread eastwards and start to clear eastwards through Thursday, but won't fully push through until Thursday evening. So it could still be warmer in the southeast, but you can see thicker cloud associated with that. So again, that could keep things a little bit cooler. Further northwards, plenty of showers coming in from the northwest, spiralling around the centre of the low moving in. Not too intense, but there could be a few thunderstorms thunderstorms on the southern edge there, a few heavier pulses. And then as we head into Friday, again, more showers in the north, further southwards, not too bad. So yes, temperatures are cooling down. We're not actually going to see a drastic change in overall conditions. Yes, more showers, more thick cloud, more areas of rain in the north, but especially for England and Wales, shouldn't actually be too much of a difference in terms of what's happening in the sky, other than maybe a bit more cloud. It's just those temperatures will be slightly lower. Into the weekend, it doesn't look too bad. Yes, some thicker cloud, a few bits of rain, but mostly decent conditions, and the same can be said for Sunday. And then we can slowly start to head into Monday, the first day of July, and unfortunately a weather front coming in from the west, and we'll have to wait and see how that interacts with the British Isles to see whether we'll see more substantial rain from this, or whether again it will be sort of a glancing blow like the low pressure system heading through later this week. Now, the one thing we do get this time of year is because the low pressure system's coming in from the west, it does draw up a southerly wind on its southern flank. Now, in the winter, that normally draws up pretty mild air, and that exacerbates the precipitation, sometimes in the weather fronts. This time of year, though, that area to the south is very warm and if not hot. So actually what it could do is it could give us very oscillating temperatures, noticeable oscillating temperatures, where we could actually see mid to high 20s ahead of these weather fronts. They sweep through, showers, thunderstorms, and then much cooler. So that could be a pattern we need to keep an eye on. And we are seeing it a little bit on this UKV run. Very warm over the next 24 hours, but slowly getting swept away by that cold front. But it's as we head into later the weekend, into the next week, you can see as we head through the weekend, very warm southerly winds arrive for a time, and you see a big wedge of southerly airflow there for Monday, and again temperatures could get into the mid to high 20s for a time there, but likely to get pushed away. And this is all because this is a warm wedge of air that does happen at all times here. We do see these warmer areas, these warmer sectors as they are officially known, but this time of year they can be more impactful because that air to our south can be so hot. So I have to wait and see, but it could give us some very up and down conditions to start July. Could be some cooler, rainy days, but also could be some stunning warm days while we're in between systems. So I have to keep a very close eye on that. Look at max temperatures. You can see through this afternoon, UKV predicting now 28 or 29. So it has calibrated slightly down for the 3 a.m. run, but we did see that last night it was showing 30 degrees, so that has downgraded a little bit, but regardless, for most it's still feeling pretty much the same. As we head into Thursday, look at that, a big cool down. Low to mid-teens across the north and west, higher teens, and then slowly towards the low to mid-20s across East Anglia, where we still hold on to some warmth. As we head into Friday, still warmish in the southeast, around average 21 to 23, but much cooler further northwards and westwards. And then to the weekend, it's going to be decent, 24, 25, the further southwards and eastwards you go, more towards the high teens further northwards and westwards. And the same can be said for Sunday, where again, it's not too bad, where we have a bit more sunshine, and likely will be similar on Monday, could actually be slightly warmer because of that increased air mass that we just saw. So I have to wait and see exactly how it does play out, but temperatures actually don't look all too bad over the next 5 or 6 days. Just going to see some more intermittent cloud and some rain further northwards, and it could be slightly up and down. But to be honest, these sort of temperatures, low to mid-20s, I personally would prefer to 30 degrees. It's a little bit oppressive out there right now. Not as oppressive as we had the last couple of years, where it's got to mid to high 30s, 40 degrees, but it is still getting just towards that oppressive level where you kind of have to think twice about doing things because of the heat. Now, if you do have a look at the longer range, you'll be able to see that it is going to be, if you like the cooler conditions, fortunately going a little bit cooler into early July. You see that low pressure glancing below over the next couple of days, but really doesn't impact most areas, still high pressure further southwards, which means we're not going to see too much in terms of widespread rain. A brief ridge of high pressure through the weekend, that's why it is mostly dry and still could be maybe 25 degrees in some places. But then into early next week to start July, those low pressure systems actually dig much further southwards with a bit of a block towards Greenland, allowing the jet stream to sink, and that means we could see more widespread rain into the middle part of next week, and you can see that with more of these showers and maybe thunderstorms spiraling around. Beyond that, we remain with this low pressure system dominating for the first full week of July, and then eventually into the longer range we could see some higher pressure returning, but still that airflow coming in from the north, which means generally air masses will be more towards average to below average here, kind of mixing between light yellows and lighter blues. So nothing great, but nothing really, really poor. Not above average like it is now, but generally oscillating around average or below average towards the end of the run. So not great, but remember this time of year below average is still probably 20 degrees in many areas. So it's not, it's not terrible by any means. It's all going to be about that precipitation and thunderstorms, which unfortunately we can't really predict with too much detail outside of the sort of the 5-day range. So we'll have to wait and see, but the indications are is it will be more unsettled. If you look at the latest GM, again, low pressure systems coming in off the Atlantic, generally again, high pressure making a bit of a return into next week before eventually more lows do arrive. And again, you can see this system towards the latter part of next week kind of parking over the top of us. Unfortunately, it would mean lots of heavy showers and potentially lots of thunderstorms as this does spiral round with lots of energy there. So yeah, not great. And again, the temperature deviation is more blues mixing in, so more below average. So it could be miserable at times next week, but hopefully, as I said, isn't completely dominant. Now, finally, compared to the ECMWF, again, very similar with that low pressure system skirting by it at the moment. Eventually, high pressure makes a return, and then we do see more lows gathering from the northwest and dominating towards the latter part of next week. The one caveat I'll say, even though all three runs agree with each other around that day 7 to day 10 range with that low pressure systems sinking further southwards, it is still in the sort of 7 to 10 day time frame where things can change quite drastically. So fingers crossed that low pressure system isn't as intense and stays further north, because if that does happen, then it will be nowhere near as bad as it could be. But of course, we'll have to wait and see. Now, to finish by looking at the latest ensembles, you can see kind of up and down over the next sort of 5 or 6 days. That's expected with the cold front sweeping through and then warmer air returning. As I said earlier when we were looking at the UKV, we see these warmer sectors pushing through that could give us days of mid to high 20s as kind of one-offs. But you can see from early July towards the sort of middle 10 days of July, it is looking average to below average, unfortunately, and it doesn't look particularly dry either. Precipitation is increasing, not hugely, but definitely into those first few days of July. There could be plenty of showers and plenty of thunderstorms. Look at the humidity temperatures for London. We're still likely to get into the high teens or low 20s most days. Again, not too bad. Still could be out in a t-shirt and shorts, but just not quite as dry and as warm as we kind of come accustomed to this time of year. At least the start of July doesn't look like it's going to follow on. We've had the last couple of years where it's been bone dry and very hot. So, of course, the last sort of 5 or 6 years, we've had notable summers like 2018, 2022, where in July we reached in excess of 38 degrees, got 40 degrees in 2022. At the moment, it doesn't look like that's on the horizon, at least for the first 10 days of the month. Maybe beyond that, we could see a big shift like we saw in June, but at the moment, again, no signs of that. And if we finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, again, if we have a look at the midnight run, oscillating up and down the next 5 days or so, but still looking pretty dry. Precipitation increasing next week, and then generally below average upper air temperatures again, pretty poor. But again, it is July, so it's not going to be particularly terrible in terms of those surface temperatures. Just not, as I said, what we've become accustomed to. With that precipitation, though, one thing I continue to stress is that there could be some very heavy thundery showers around. Yes, we normally associate thunderstorms with breakdowns of heat waves and stuff like that, etc. But this time of year, these air masses, even though they are below average, they're still very energetic because it is summer. Increased humidity around as well. And all we need is a tiny warm sector to get mixed in, increased CAPE, and we could see an explosive afternoon or evening. So we'll have to wait and see. Definitely looks like there's going to be low pressure ingredients. Definitely looks like could be warmer air masses at times. We'll just have to see what happens when that all comes together in the next week or two. But yeah, enjoy the next couple of days while it is dry and fairly warm. Can't guarantee what's going to come in that medium to longer term, but it doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look great at this stage. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.